Hello, and welcome to today's webinar, Mastering Data Backup and Archive with Dropsuite. My name's Katie from the Dropsuite team, and I'm happy to be emceeing this webinar for you today. I'm joined by our two panelists, Jamie DeVoe, Head of Channel Sales in APAC at Dropsuite, and Jonathan Prentice, Solutions Consultant at Prevas Consulting, who recently began using Dropsuite. Both gentlemen have been in this space for decades, and I'm excited to have the depth of knowledge and experience on the call to serve you all today. A tiny bit of housekeeping before I hand it over to Jamie and Jonathan. This session is one of two taking place this week. The content will be the same, but in case you walk away from this webinar wanting to speak and such, any and all are welcome to join us again on Thursday at 3:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. The chat is live and we're excited to interact with you throughout. Please feel free to log your questions now, and throughout the presentation, we'll have the official Q&A at the end. We've loaded in some resources into the materials section here within the webinar platform. I encourage you to pop over there now and download those so you can access them after this session. Today, our presentation is Mastering Data Backup and Archive with Dropsuite, where we'll be diving into best practices for backup and archiving data within Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace. This presentation includes best practices for backing up and archiving, in addition to an in-product demo of Dropsuite, recognized globally as a leading backup and archiving vendor on the market, and then, of course, our Q&A session. I encourage you to settle in. Please feel free and comfortable to ask whatever questions you have. I'll put both Jamie and Jonathan's LinkedIn profile links into the chat in addition to our Dropsuite corporate profile, as you can stay up to date with all the things Dropsuite has going on, and of course Prevas Consulting too. I encourage you to connect with each of them and follow us to stay up to date. And without any further ado, I will hand it over to Jamie.
Thanks so much, Katie. Really great to have everybody join us today for our webinar. I'm excited to have Jonathan with us as well, who's recently joined Dropsuite, to give a little bit of perspective on why he chose us and what he's doing with Dropsuite today and its advantages. But to start off, what we're going to do is go through a little bit of background on Dropsuite. We're going to give you a bit of understanding of who we are, how long we've been in the industry, what our product lines are, and then we're going to actually walk into a live demo of our product. That'll follow with a Q&A with myself and Jonathan, and then we'll open it up to the larger group for a Q&A. We do have everybody muted today, so please do use the question and answer box in your GoToMeeting link, GoToWebinar link, I should say, in order to ask your questions, and we'll answer them verbally on the call. So just getting started today, again, Jamie DeVoe, Head of Sales for APAC. Some of you may know me from my time at Enable prior to that. So I've been in the managed services industry now for coming on 16 years. Basically a large majority of that time, 15 years of those years, have been spent locally here in the ANZ region. So I'm really thankful for my time here in Australia and dealing with all the customers locally, and a large majority of time in the MSP space. Moving into my time with Dropsuite, we are strategically placed in the industry as a cloud backup and archiving solution for Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace. We also do have the ability, if you have hosted Exchange customers, to back up that data into the cloud. But our predominant products today are M365 and Google Workspace. And our mantra internally is we help businesses stay in business. We do that through three core pillars of success. We want to keep your data secure. Obviously, as a backup company, that's at the forefront of everything we do, is making sure that we employ the best practices from a security perspective to keep not only you and your customers' data safe. We want to make the product extremely easy to use. We see that, backup products, at the end of the day, they shouldn't be touched on a consistent basis. You want to be you want to make sure, and you want to be confident that the product's doing what it says on the box and that it's backing up that data in case of a restore or any kind of issue that happens where the customer loses data. But you want to make it really super simple to use so that your staff's able to use it and you have minimal training in relation to the product. And then obviously introducing powerful business tools. And that really comes into play with our archiving solution, which is quite strong to meet the challenges that businesses are facing today with remote work and a large majority of more of their customers using collaboration tool sets like Google and like Microsoft 365. So a quick understanding about us, we were established in 2012 out of Singapore. We started off as a website backup company. We quickly pivoted into the backup and archiving space in around 2014, and we've done that consistently all the way through. While we were established in Singapore, we are an Australian company, and I'm really proud to say that as an Australian resident. Um, we are publicly traded on the Australian Stock Exchange under the ticker DSE, and we do have local support staff that are managing support tickets during Australian and New Zealand time zone. So being an Australian company, again, really, really proud of that part of our business. We're currently providing over 20 billion backups today across 14 data centers. Those data centers are located in 9 geographical locations, and we currently support over 1 million users, and obviously, that number grows every single day. We're supporting over 139 countries, and those are mainly OECD speaking countries. And I'll get a little bit more into that as I move through the slides today. I'm going to start off with the fact, a little bit of, kudos to us. Software reviews, if any of you are aware of, they're a review website which allows MSPs or users of product to be able to go in and score or rate their current products. And I'm happy to say that 4 years in a row, Dropsuite has been up and to the right as a leader in the space in relation to this product line and this tool set. And so I wanted to bring this up because it's not something that we've paid for. This is literally a website where people go in, they put in their own reviews, and I'm really proud of the fact that it's a user-based scoring system. Main things that come up on a consistent basis is our level of compliancy, our high level of security and granular restore, our support, and obviously our ease of use. When we look at M365 and Google, they're the products that most or the vast majority of our customers have moved to. And we want to be your single vendor story across all those product lines. So when it comes to any platform, like I said, Microsoft, Google, on-premise, the cloud, whether that be hosted exchange, whether it become any geography. So if you have multinational customers who are in, Canada or America or Japan, Singapore, and you want to back that data up in the local data center, you have that availability with Dropsuite. We want to support any segment, and this is a really important thing. We are a channel friendly company, and I want to focus in there. We are devoted to our MSP channel, and we build our product in order to make sure that MSPs have the best of every opportunity. So, that being said, it's a very scalable product from anywhere from one user all the way up to thousands. It's pro rata subscription. So that means that we only bill you when you activate the license. And if you deactivate the license middle of the month, we stop billing you. And it's really works well because if you have specific customers, let's say they have 50 employees and 25 of their staff are part-time users or contract users, and you're not required to back up those employees. You don't need to deploy to everybody. So it's not a all or nothing solution. It allows you to kind of deploy to the most important people in the organization where required. And then obviously supporting any vertical market when it comes to healthcare, financial, government, legal. These are typically organizations that require a higher level of backup and more in relation to archiving and more compliancy tools. I'm going to walk you through a little bit more of that when I go through the demo. We're HIPAA compliant, SOC 2, GDPR, and FINRA compliant. And those are the current accreditations we have in the market. SOC 2 probably being the most relevant in the Australia New Zealand market. We all know about Essential Eights here in Australia. I mean, these are, government kind of best practices to keep your company secure from the number of attacks that are out there in today's market. So it's really a three-level or a security stack, if you will, with daily backups being, at the forefront of that. And I think that's the number one thing, being able to restore, recover if a loss of data happens or a ransomware attack or, some kind of system flaw, an outage, you're able to recover that with our product. So let's get a little bit into the product lines that we have and give you some understanding. Now, Obviously we need Microsoft and Google to exist. So this isn't by any means a slight at Microsoft. But if you didn't know, if you look at the terms and conditions of Microsoft's M365 terms and conditions, Clause 6B really clearly states that, while they strive to keep that, the services up and running, if there's an outage or a disruption or a loss of data that you may suffer as a result, they're not really liable for that loss of data. So they do recommend very clearly that you use a third party solution or your own backup solution. And that's really where we fit in, is in this third party apps and service. We're basically an insurance policy if the customer loses data. Secondary is when it comes to archive data or retention data that's like older than, a year's time, 6 months time. Dropsuite really swings in nicely in case the customer needs to recover, old data or data that is no longer being used in the company. Our two product SKUs are backup only and backup plus archiver. So backup only is an automated backup process. So it's incremental. We do one full backup and then we do incremental backups all the way through at a specific set time. It's unlimited storage, unlimited retention. So we don't bill you extra for more storage. It's all based in your per seat pricing. There are no minimum purchases of our product, as I stated earlier. So if you do have a unique situation where a customer only requires a certain number of employees to be backed up, you can address that with our product. We have no ingestion fees. Some of you may be using a competitive product today, and you may have archived data in that competitive product. We have two ways that we can pull that data out. You can either do it for free by, basically pulling the data down and uploading it to an FTP site for us to ingest. Or you can leverage our partner services, which we released at the start of this year, where we do the full lift and shift for your organization. So we'll actually go into your competitive technology, pull the data out, and drop it into Dropsuite so that you can keep that archive data for your customers. Currently, we provide backup for that per user pricing across Exchange, SharePoint, OneDrive, Groups, Teams, private chat. We also do your contacts, calendars, and tasks if required. We provide you with an advanced search capability, insights with BI analytics, email analytics, one-click restore and download to make it really easy, and then obviously your 256-bit AES encryption leveraged in there. So that's our entry level product, and it is entry level with the automated backups. If you choose backup plus archiving, you get everything that you've got in backup only. But with the archiving, we move your email from a scheduled time to immediate. So as soon as an email is sent or received by the user being backed up with Dropsuite, we back it up. It's non-deletable in our data center. We also add on a number of compliancy tools. So things like e-discovery, legal hold, flexible retention periods, and tamper-proof audit trails. And I'm going to be demoing this in just a moment, so bear with me. And there's minimal cost to you as the MSP in terms of the upgrade in those solutions. And I'd say about 72% of the deals that we do out of Dropsuite are Archiver based because most MSPs just want to launch Archiver as their core solution and capture everything. Our backup frequency, just for those of you who are asking, is pretty straightforward. So on the backup only solution, we do many more backups than a large majority of our competitors at 12 a day. So every 2 hours, we back up email on the entry level product. We do OneDrive 1 time a day, SharePoint 3 times a day, Teams groups and private chat 3 times, and your contacts, calendars, and tasks 1 time a day. If you choose the archiving solution, obviously, as I stated earlier, it'll move to an immediate backup of email. So as soon as the email passes through the filter, we back it up. It's non-deletable in our backend. Really good for legal, financial, HR, any kind of organizations that need to capture all the data. Here's just a quick snapshot. Now, all of the material from today and even more so is uploaded into GoToWebinar if you want to download. But by all means, if you need this deck or anything else like that after the call, let me know. But here's a quick snapshot of everything we back up in Microsoft. And then obviously Google Workspace, which we don't see as much of here in Australia and obviously in New Zealand. But it's definitely something that you can offer your customers if you encounter a small business using it. When it comes to the security of our product, you want to be rest assured that your data is safe both in transit and at rest. So when we're transferring data over the wire, you have strict access controls and nobody but you can access that data and who you give access to in your internal organization. It's always a secure connection that's encrypted. The data is only accessible from your specific account. And there's obviously TLS and SSL layers built in. When it comes to it sitting, dormant in our data center, it's SSL encrypted with military grade AES 256. It's a complete firewall solution with only explicitly open ports allowed. There's also the ability for you to restrict specific IPs from accessing the servers if required. And then we have standard DDoS mitigation techniques like sync cookies and connection limiting in case of a coordinated attack against our servers. So that being said, I'm going to gravitate into the partner portal and give you a quick demo. I do want to stay on time today. I know that we're midday for some of you, so I want to make sure that I keep conscious of time for everybody. So it is a cloud to cloud solution. So once, and via, I'll take this opportunity as well. If you have any questions, please do enter them into the chat. We'll answer them vocally once we get to the Q&A period. So when you go to dropsuite.com, you'll be able to access your login portal. And that login portal is going to show you every region we have a data center. So obviously you can see here one in Australia, more specifically in Asia Pacific. We have Singapore, Australia, Japan as our key data centers. So if some of you may be asking, well, is that data shared? No, it's not. So in Australia, we leverage AWS, Amazon Web Services. It's our own private cloud within AWS. We're a premium customer of AWS. So the data doesn't leave Australian shores, which is really nice. It's not duplicated in any other market, and we leverage their full data center network in Australia to deliver that, as goes for any of the other geos. So if you did have a customer in, let's say, America or the United Kingdom, they were multinational, they were required to back up that data locally in the United Kingdom, you can provide that through Dropsuite. Once you select your region, you'll walk in as an MSP. Now, our product's split up into two key areas. It's split up into the partner portal, which you're seeing right now, and it's also split up into the direct user portal. And I'm going to walk through a little bit about what that looks like in a moment. So we'll cover up the partner portal as we go through now. The first dashboard is going to give you a full understanding of what your bill is for that month in terms of the billable licensing that we're billing you, what your protection cover is. So out of the amount of seats that you've found, how many you're backing up, what the seat usage is, and then obviously a quick snapshot view of all the organizations and accounts. Now, we've just started to enter into this widget style reporting, and we're going to be adding a lot more. But this is a really good condensed understanding of everything you're doing. These are all filterable views. So you can filter in terms of time or a specific customer or whatever you need to do in order to see who's new and who's been added to the portal. I'm going to skip over organizations and accounts because that's our direct portal, and I'm just going to walk through a little bit more about this partner portal. The plans, obviously, we know you're an MSP. So when you're buying our product for a specific cost and you're reselling it to your customers for a specific margin. So in your plans, you can create as many pricing plans as you want in relation to our solution. And you could have, literally two, one pricing plan for backup only and one for archiver. But we do understand that you may have legacy customers that you're billing a higher rate to or a lower rate to. So you can literally put in as many pricing plans as you want to and attach that plan to the customer when you add them to Dropsuite. Your support overview is going to give you a good view of everything Dropsuite. So anything that we're backing up and where we've run into any specific issues. So obviously as an MSP, we understand that, you don't want to be logging into this portal every day. So you can do management of notification through the portal. So you can, raise alerts through your ticketing solution if you have a specific issue like this authentication error or a connection error at a customer site. So you can gain notification through a ticketing solution should you require that. I'm just going to skip down here and show you our current integrations are live with ConnectWise and Autotask, and we'll be adding Halo very soon as a third another PSA that we're going to be adding to the solution. So all these alerts can be pushed through either email or obviously through the specific PSA you're leveraging. Your billing is obviously just going to show you your past invoices, so anything that has been billed to you in the past. And then your support tickets. Now, as I said earlier, we do have local support here in Australia. We're a follow the sun mentality when it comes to support. So If after hours here in Australia, it'll move to EMEA and then to America. And that's how our ticketing system actually works. So if you're an MSP, you raise an urgent ticket with us at 6 o'clock at night, someone in EMEA will pick that ticket up and it'll roll through to America until we wake up here the next day in Australia. But our resource center is really just mixed up amongst a number of different, videos, learning portals, things like that. But if you definitely need to contact support, meaning, you need someone to fix an issue, Dropsuite's not working a specific way, or you're running into an issue, you can contact support through this button here. As I move down into resources, we've got all of our resources that we make available either online or in our back end in terms of the white papers, how to, why to use Dropsuite. So there's a number of different articles and things that our MSPs use in order to help sell the product to their customers, and obviously educate staff internally. And you can, download those at will as required. I've already covered off the integration. And then last but not least is all your settings tab. So specifically user management, who's got access, what level of access they have. You can literally give your finance person, your bookkeeper, an access portal to this so that they can see what they need to, pay bills on time of the month. And then any of your specific people in your organization that you want to give levels of access to, you have the capability to do that. You've got all of your group management. So some MSPs work in a structure where specific IT specialists, a level one, level two, level three step deal with a specific customer. So let's say Jamie deals with customers A through M, and I only want Jamie to see those customers. We can set up group management to be able to access that. Organization settings give you the ability to set up your users for specific permissions. So if you wanted a level one to only be able to view and restore emails, let's say, then you could set that up, but not give them the ability to download any customer information. You have that ability with Dropsuite. And then last but not least is our notification settings. We understand that MSPs want to cancel out as much white noise as possible. So if there's any, specific triggers that you want to turn off, this is completely malleable. We do have our activate recommended settings, but you can literally go here and change anything you want to set notification on how you want to be notified about things that your customers are doing with the backup. So that really covers off the partner portal. It gives you a good view of everything Dropsuite in terms of your MSP portal. Now, when we go into actually launching a new customer, you can see the new partner tab up here, but you have two tabs in the middle. You've got organizations and you've got accounts. Look at organizations as obviously the customers you're backing up, and the accounts are the employees within those organizations. So depending on how you want to search, you can go through it that way. Now I'm going to click on the organizations tab. Once I click on that, I'm going to be able to see all of my customers that I'm backing up based on the organization I've set up. I can easily select a new organization if I'm setting up a new customer, put in the credentials, the specific pricing plan I want to attach them to, and set the number of seats. Once I save that, they'll show up underneath the organizations tab. I'm going to walk into a customer. So at that level, once the customer is set up, we can go into view details. And once we do that, we can look at, the current customer, how many seats they're using. We can download license reports. We can do any kinds of things we need that. We can get a view of who we've given access to this portal. If you've given the end user access, which is a capability with Dropsuite, you can view all of your subscriptions. You have the ability to either suspend an organization, unsubscribe, or delete an organization where required. You also have all of your features set in here as well. So if you want to do, let's say, in-place archive with Microsoft and you want to back that up, you can tick that box. If you want to do private chat, you can tick that box. So you have all of your kind of capabilities back here in terms of that ability, credentials, and then last but not least, your journaling. So all of your kind of information is in the view details tab. But let's say I want to go out and actually deploy this product out to this customer. So once the customer new organization set up, I'm going to click on login as client. And as you can see, we've flicked off from that partner portal to the direct user portal. So I'm actively in this customer environment, and I'm now, moved away from my MSP portal. Now, initially, obviously, this is a a demo environment, so we can see that there's already users set up. But initially, when you go to deploy the product, there's just going to be a big gray button saying add backup. So once we see that, we're going to click that button, and now we're going to select which product we want to back up, whether that be Microsoft, Google, Hosted Exchange, or Gmail only. Keeping in mind, Gmail only is still the paid version of Google. It's not the free version. So obviously, we want to keep it more business style. So if there's a requirement here, you do have that ability to just back up email. Once we've put in our specific information for the customer site through Microsoft, Google, or Hosted Exchange, what Dropsuite will do is go out and run a retrieval. So we're going to run a retrieval on all of the users underneath typically a global admin, for instance, with Microsoft 365. And we're going to do a retrieval over time. Once all those users are available, up in the top left corner, you'll be able to either select all the users to be backed up if you have an SLA where all the employees are required, or there'll be tick box information on the left side for you to tick the specific users you want. Now, all these users have been added for my demo, but like I said, if you literally only wanted to back up Adele, Alan, and Christy, you could do that with the tick box capability. We do have the ability to both auto license your users and auto discover your users. So auto licensing means when a new M365 license comes in connection with your SMB or your customer, we'll automatically deploy Dropsuite out. Keep in mind that we will bill you for that, but it does save a lot of time in relation to setting up Dropsuite for any new users in the site. You know that you're protected when a new M365 environment comes available. We also have the auto discover tab, which will just notify you of any new users that have come into play. So if 3 new employees have joined and they've bought 3 new licenses of M365, at least you can get a notification saying there's new users and Dropsuite isn't deployed to them. You can set up a default retention policy at that point, and you also have the ability to do an Active Directory sync. So anybody changes their name or there's any changes to the email credentials, you can sync that up with Dropsuite so that we make the same change in our product. Once you select the users, there'll be an add backup button. You simply click that and we'll start the initial backup. So that's a really easy process. Once that's all done, you will see all of your users spread out down here. So there's a couple of ways we can search for information with our product. Obviously, if a Dell called you and they had like a 100-person organization, you can just do a quick search for Adele if you wanted to click on that individual quickly, and you can drive right into their account and see all of the information you need. If it was product specific, like maybe the customer wanted you to restore a SharePoint folder, we can go into the download. And what we'll be able to see is the SharePoint structure, the way it's set up in the company's organization. And from there, what we can do is we can search through those folders. We can also restore. So if we were to restore this full documents folder, which we're just revamping our demo, but so there's 0 in here, but just to give you an understanding, we can restore to a latest version. So the earliest backup we've done or the most latest, or we can go to a previous version. Okay. We can also download. So if the customer says, hey, I don't need you to restore that document, I just need a copy of it, then we could simply download that copy and send it to them via an email if required. So when we look at the user environment, so let's say Adele is called up the level ones and said, hey, you know what, I've lost 5 emails, I don't know where they are. We can quickly enter into Adele's inbox and we can see all of the messages on the top level. If I wanted to scroll down through her folder hierarchy, I could do that as well, check sent or deleted items, and I can look through that. If I have specific keywords I'm looking for, I can also search across all of her emails on the top right search bar. Once I found the specific emails I want to back up or restore, I can click restore, and basically I have 3 options. I can restore it back to the inbox to an existing customer that the user has, or I can create a brand new folder altogether. So let's say if it was 50 or 100 emails that got lost, I didn't want to create duplicates in the inbox. I might want to create a new folder for the user to scan through. Once we go once that restore is done, pretty straightforward, 1 click. We can also download information for the user. So one thing I've seen with some backup companies is they like to basically hold your data hostage, right? In some cases, you have to raise a support ticket, you have to contact someone in order to gain access to your data. We make it accessible to you all the time because at the end of the day, it's your data. So if you do require to, download a full inbox of email or PST format, you can do that. You can also migrate specific information. So if Adele is moving to a different department of the organization and someone new is taking over her role, and I want to, migrate some specific key data like purchase orders or things like that, I can do that. You could technically also use this as a migration tool from like a Google to a Microsoft 365. The only problem with this is it's per user. So it's not set up like a migration tool like a BitTitan. But let's say a user was using Google and you wanted to migrate the data to a new M365 box. You could technically do that with our product, but keep in mind we're not built as a migration tool set. I know that question comes up a lot. Then all of your basic info on the user, when's the last time we backed up, whether or not it was completed, and our deactivate tab. Now, that means if you deactivate a user, we're no longer going to take any new backups. We're not in the business to delete backups. So that data will always be accessible. It will remain in a deactivated status until you click it off to a shared mailbox in Microsoft. Now, one thing to keep in mind for everybody on the call, we do not charge you for shared mailboxes. Okay, so if you do have the requirement to keep that ex-employee data for a 5-year period, whatever the case is, you can do that with Dropsuite, and we don't charge you for that license. So that gives you a good window into that initial page. We have advanced search. Advanced search is pretty straightforward. This is where I don't really know what I'm looking for, right? So maybe my company's my SMB has been audited. I've misplaced an invoice from, let's say, 2021. I know some specific information about the email, but I don't know exactly what I'm looking for. I've got all of the things right here to build that search criteria. So very key way to hone in your search. We can also search by email attachment. So if you were looking for a PDF or a PowerPoint document, we can do that as well. All of the system status is tracked via Dropsuite. So anything that you do in Dropsuite or your employees do within Dropsuite is tracked via our system. So anytime someone downloads customer information or restores done for, let's say, a user, we can track through our system through a footprint. So it's going to show you who it was done for, who it was done by, and obviously whether that job was completed and what the job ID was. So everything's tracked through our system. Literally every backup we do, every restore, every migration is all tracked through the system. Insights gives you some, just key overview of statistics on the customer. So email volume, how many emails you're backing up, what's the storage looking like. You can do things like productivity, so you can see through an 8-hour workday, what's the percentage of time they're using emails, who are the top senders, who are the top recipients of emails, so on and so forth. Now, we are realizing we're seeing this a lot more where supplemental relationships are coming in. I realize I'm coming to time, so I'm going to kind of quickly go through this, but we can do also user management for supplemental relationships. So what that means is if you want to give access to your end user to this product, you can do that, and you have a hierarchy level. By default, as an MSP, most of you want to control this product for your customer. But if they do have an IT resource on hand or a managing director requires permission, you can do that. So by default, these are all turned off, and you have literally 10 different roles of access you can give to your end user. So they'll get a login of Dropsuite and they'll be able to access it based on what level, whether that's full admin or just the ability to view and restore their own emails. Okay. Um, that's really everything from a backup only perspective. Moving into, so that's our entry level product. You get all of the solutions that I've just talked about. If you choose the archiver, this compliancy 4 box will show up. And compliancy gives you the ability to do something like e-discovery. Ours is really easy. Looks exactly like advanced search. If you've tried to do e-discovery in Microsoft, you can see it can be difficult for some users. Ours is really straightforward. What you can do is you can basically create your search criteria of what you're looking to do, and now you can save that search for any historical searches in the future. I've had one come up recently, a property management company in Sydney. The MSP asked me to pitch to them. They have all their properties managed by a subject line with the address of the property, and they are doing like 60 searches a day to find, specific emails from Sparkies or, any kinds of things that have done to the property. And they're really looking for a tool set to condense those searches into one easy to find search. So that's really nice about our e-discovery. You can view specific emails, you can tag specific emails if you want to get someone else in the organization to look in, or you can mark them for review. We can also do alerts on email. So, it comes up today, someone's, let's say, that's a horrible thing to think, but, if someone's harassing another employee and we want to be notified every time that employee sends an email to a specific individual in the company, we can do that. We can do things like set up tags. Now, this is probably going to be more used for GDPR, even though I think in Australia or New Zealand, we're probably going to move more to a GDPR-esque level of restriction. But this is tagging specific emails for deletion or for review. We have retention policies. Now, our retention policy is super malleable. So you can literally set up a retention policy for as many days, weeks, months, years as you want to. So, for instance, here in Australia, a doctor needs to store data for a 7-year period and then delete. And you want to delete anything older than 7 years. So we can set that up however you want. By default, unlimited. But if you have a specific requirement to set a retention policy for a customer, you can do that. If the user wants to be, let's say that same medical practice, the head doctor says, I want everybody in the organization to be under a retention policy of 7 years, but me specifically, I want my data to be retained since the beginning of time, then we can put that individual into a legal hold, and that will trump any retention policy set by the rest of the org. The audit log is made available to you as well, message and file, as well as your user activity and system log. Generally, this is definitely good information to have. You're probably not going to be using this every other day, but in a specific legal situation where your company is taking an ex-employee to court or something along those lines, you would be required to set these activity logs because the court system will want to know who had access to the system, was anything deleted or manipulated to make that individual look guilty. So we do make that available for you whenever you require it. So I know that was a lot of speaking, but I hope that I've shown you how easy the product is to walk through. And now what I want to do is kind of jump a little bit backwards and introduce Jonathan. Um, we were talking before earlier, and I urge everybody on the call to please use the Q&A. We were talking a little bit before. Jonathan and I have known each other for coming on 15 years now. We dealt as a group largely when I was with Enable, and Jonathan obviously used that services when he was there. And he's more recently come on with Dropsuite. So I figured rather than use a customer who's been with us for, 4 or 5 years, I would bring Jonathan on today because he's a recent joiner. I think he joined in March, from my understanding. So we're just going to go through a little bit of Q&A, why Jonathan chose us, everything else like that. But right now I'll start with, Jono, welcome today. Thanks very much for doing this for us. And
Yeah, no
I
worries.
want to just give you an opportunity, give you a little bit about yourself, time in the industry, experiences, things like that to start us off.
Yeah, sure. So in terms of the MSP industry, I started the first MSP in APJ back in 2002. So I'm the first official Autotask customer in the region. And then obviously was with Enable for years and years and years as a customer. So yeah, been in IT something 30 some odd years now. It's getting a bit ridiculous, but
You
yeah,
still got all your hair
long
though.
time. Yeah, I don't know. It's going pretty grey though. But yeah, look, I've been in IT a long time. I've seen a lot of stuff. I dealt with a lot of backup solutions, and obviously for a lot of people, this kind of cloud backup area is sort of a new thing. We've been doing, cloud backups for quite a long time with various different products. We've used Veeam, We've used just the Synology NAS as a backup, and we've probably been using that maybe 10 years, something like that, maybe a little less than that. We've used a couple of Dropsuite competitors over the time for various different reasons, and moved on to Dropsuite for I guess issues with the other products that we've been using, but always looking for the next good product to use, the right solution that's going to lower the number of tickets that we get every day and make sure the customers are getting a solution that they expect. And we're looking for a reasonably high percentage of success rate, because customers for some reason think backups work 24/7, 365 and never fail, but
Yeah.
expectation and reality. And look, to move into one of your questions is why Dropsuite. That all of the cloud solutions have infrastructure, right? So as you say, you're a private cloud partner for AWS for the Australian nodes, and that's once you start gaining growth, at speed, then scale becomes a problem. And we've had a couple of the previous companies that we used really start to grind, just really, really slowing down. We'd have ingestions taking 2 weeks, and you just can't afford those sorts of things, especially when you're turning off something else and loading into something new. And you might have 2 weeks where you don't have a full backup now, or the customer has to pay for both products for a month,
Yeah.
and that really doesn't work. And then obviously there's the non-friendly MSP licensing models. Hey, we're going to lock you in for 3 years to 500 licenses. You only need 100, which I'm really against. And it means that we can be, like Dropsuite means we can be totally transparent with our customers. The integration for us to Autotask is seamless. The auto discovery is great. The customer gets an email, we get an email, hey, we've added this person, or hey, we've added these 3 people, or this person got disabled or deactivated. And our billing is perfectly in line with that day that person got removed, that day that person got added. And so it just clears up like that gray area of what's going on with my backups. And touch wood, so far, I mean, I think we're at 550 mailboxes already.
Yep.
And it's just seamless. We've got some Google, we've got lots of Microsoft, hopefully less Google as we move them to Microsoft. But just easy, simple. I mean, the demo you showed is literally as difficult as it is. I don't even charge for setup now for those customers, because it honestly, it's 3 or 4 minutes and they're up and running.
That's great. So,
Yeah,
so you
so
found
simple.
so let's spend some time there. So, you address a large majority of, all the products you use, which is great because it gives anybody on the call an ability to understand if they're using a competitive technology. Let's spend some time there, from an ingestion perspective or from a startup, how did you see Dropsuite in comparison to the deployment of other products out there? Obviously setup time you're not even charging for, which I find incredibly interesting because, usually that comes with a set amount of time that you need to build a customer. So why have you made that decision? Is it literally that easy to deploy that you're just not spending a ton of time to get the customer set up in Dropsuite?
Oh, I 2 minutes.
Okay,
And that
that's good.
includes integration to the Autotask contract and lining up of the services, and that means obviously the billing as well. It's
Okay.
literally add the user, we've got an admin account, put the admin account in, make sure auto discovery is on. It now says, hey, you haven't matched up to Autotask. You click the manage button, you go drop down that customer, drop down that contract. And if you don't have the service in the contract, which many of you will know is a pain, you have to go into Autotask and add the service. No, hit the little blue button, and that goes to Autotask and says, hey, attach this service to that contract. And then it appears, you drop it down, you select the name of it, and done. like literally
Incredible.
done.
Incredible.
I haven't timed it myself, but I guarantee you it's sub 5 minutes, including logging in.
Well,
So you go,
that's good
do
for
I
us.
really need to charge set up for that? I mean, you can, but
Mhm.
like once you've got your partner portal set up and you've got your notification settings set up, honestly, it's so simple. It's not even funny.
Cool. Well, let's take a step back for just one, and we are coming up to time, but I hope for any of you on the call, you're finding this valuable. One question I did want to ask is, for the users on the call or the MSPs on the call who might say, you know what, Microsoft's enough, or Google's enough for me, and they aren't looking at a third party or have never done third party backup. Is there any kind of personal experiences that you've been through where, a product like us or even a competitor, obviously you've been new with us for a recent amount of time, but is there any kind of words of wisdom that you would give to anybody who maybe isn't using a third party solution to back up data through Microsoft and Google?
Yeah, you're playing Russian roulette with all the bullets loaded.
Right.
Like it's
Quote that,
data
clip that.
loss. Data loss happens. Like it just, I mean, if you've worked in IT long enough, and I'm going back to tape drive days. Actually, I go back to cassette days, like audio cassette days for backups. Um, data loss happens. End of story. Deletion, whatever. A lot of what we see is disgruntled employee or non-performing employee, and management have started putting some pressure on them, and they usually do dumb things, right? They start to squirm. They want to offboard some of their data, or they're going to go to a competitor, or they're whatever it is. Stuff starts to move in the environment, right? And it either gets deleted or it gets forwarded to someone else or whatever. And one of the things you didn't show is the graph that shows you all the connections from the mailboxes, which we've used a number of times. But being able to go, this user, what data have we been backing up? What stuff have been sent out? Yeah, the relationships graph. This is like when you come to HR stuff, this is gold. And obviously your demo environment is pretty limited. But what this is showing is the to and froms. Right, so you can drill this into this particular email address, and it shows you all the places that it's emailed, or so you get sent, received with their attachments. How many connections do they have? And so it's really good from a holistic perspective. But we've found it, the people trying to get rid of an employee, and we can track all the stuff that they've deleted, and we can see that they've emailed themselves some attachments. Some random Gmail account. You're like, that's not a customer. Where is that? What is that? What do they send? Right, let's go into the archive log and see what's actually been sent out there, and then you can really get serious. And sometimes that's the grounds for firing, which the manager is really happy about. Or sometimes it's just like, okay, cool, we need to engage HR and like go after this person because clearly they're stealing company data or whatever. So the backup side of it is just it's an enabler, right, for a number of scenarios. And so the
Unbelievable.
more you back up, the better. I mean, you guys 12 times a day, most of the other products are once, maybe twice. In terms of email, the email archive stuff in terms of real-time journal backup, that's huge as
Mm.
well. And the price difference is negligible at the end of the day. So it's a rounding error. Um, and so, for us, this is just like one, a stable backup platform. Two, visibility like this stuff is huge. Three, not having to go into like Office 365 and try and dig this stuff out because it takes forever, and they're forever moving the options and putting it in security and putting it in compliance, and that's a hassle. So yeah, I mean, all of you listening will have had a backup failure or a system failure and needing to restore. Microsoft have the same thing. It's just they don't care about your data if you have it in Microsoft 365. They literally don't care. They're providing a service on a best efforts basis. And if you're an MSP, you're not providing best efforts basis. You're providing a service, a foundation for your customers. And you can't do that without good backup.
I think that's a good way. We are on time, and I think that's a good way to end it off. I think it's a great statement, and I appreciate all the value. As anybody heard, I wanted to get Jono's experience just coming on board. I think, as I said, in March as a customer. Hopefully, it wasn't too biased, but we'll pass it back to Katie. We didn't leave a lot of time for Q&A, but anybody who did have any questions, you can punt them into the Q&A box. But with that, I'll pass it back to Katie for closure. By all means, if anybody needs, they can reach out to me directly, and ask any questions they have as well after the call. Go ahead, Katie.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Jonathan. And to all of you watching, a very sincere thank you. We're really excited by the volume of you who turned out today to listen to this presentation, Jamie. Perhaps we ought to do more of these live sessions considering the turnout. There were a handful of you who joined a little bit late. No problems there. The recording will be available shortly along with the slides. And if you happen to be watching this recording on YouTube or on our website in the future, hello. Of course, you weren't able to interact with us live today, obviously. But we're only ever an email away, jamie@dropsuite.com, or available through our website, dropsuite.com. It is our thrill to have spent some time with you today. This concludes our webinar session, and we thank you so much for joining. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.